Hi, I'm Sally Lyndley. Welcome to this episode of Lyndley Trends. On this episode, I want to chat about the prints from the Fall/Winter 2014 runways. Now, the prints were there weren't a ton of prints, and where there were prints, they were sprinkled throughout the collection. The couple collections that did have the most prints were definitely Givenchy from Paris, and also definitely Dries Van Noten, also in Paris, but he's Belgian. Those were kind of the two that really did prints like throughout the collection. Chanel had prints, but they were more of color plays and more kind of graphic geometric, slightly 80s prints, but with Chanel it was more about color and their boucles than really going into prints. At Celine you had gingham, which is something she's been playing with for a couple seasons now. I love a gingham. I think it also is very referential to the time that she was referencing from the post-war and pre-war times with Hannah Hoke and also Lee Miller. And also something about gingham gives a housewifey vibe, which is what she's always kind of going against with Celine at Phoebe Philo at Celine. So I think that gingham is a fun play on that idea of the typical housewife, which obviously the Celine woman is not, but also ginghams are just nice. And then also, you have the Bauhaus reference that everyone is kind of pulling into so heavily, and that really Phoebe's been doing since she got to Celine 5 or 6 years ago. Bauhaus has kind of been a philosophy for her. She really blew it open last spring, summer, but those Bauhaus colors and trends as far as the prints, and if you don't know Bauhaus, I know I have a Lyndley Trends coming out, if it's not out already, that covers it. But definitely get into the Bauhaus prints and their graphic design. Very, very heavily influential inside of prints this season. So let's also look at, Prada, which is another one of my favorite shows. They did a ton of 70s geometric prints. I love a 70s geometric print. 70s are a big thing right now in general. And also Saint Laurent touched on 60s and 70s prints. Saint Laurent was more of a John Baldessari California 60s and 70s prints, which was all of his collaging and kind of that more of vibe, which we have a John Baldessari Lyndley Trends video as well. I would go and look at that. But, kind of just look at those 70s geometric prints that are almost a throwback to Art Deco. And, all of the kind of crazy geometric repetition in Art Deco, but done through 70s colors and 70s kind of kaleidoscope vision coming off of the hippie, or coming off of the 60s, and going into acid trip hippie and kind of kaleidoscope vibes. So take a look at Prada. We'll have that for you guys in links below on Lyndley Trends blog. And also, let's see, Givenchy was heavily printed this season. He went in a Carlo Mellini vibe, and Carlo Mellini was a furniture designer, but he was also obsessed with insects and also obsessed with taking pictures of beautiful women, actually hookers. And so he has incredible books out on insects and these women, and that's what Riccardo Tisci at Givenchy said he was very inspired by. But when you specifically look at the prints from this collection, it was really about moths and butterflies and leopard, and mixed in with leopard, because that's always a very kind of Givenchy Riccardo moment. And mixing in with Bauhaus, again, a lot of Bauhaus colors, and those kind of, that way of making it a print that can seem super busy. Riccardo really took it and made a geometric crop of these different kind of overdone butterfly and moth prints, cut them up and made them into interesting geometry, but also really kind of took leopard and moth back patterns and did them in beautiful embroideries and beading and more graphic patterns towards the end of the show. So that's an important show to watch if your brand or what you're working on is very print heavy. I think Givenchy is a great reference. And then, the kind of the most printed hardcore collection this season was Dries Van Noten as far as influential shows go. And Dries Van Noten, you know, his whole take was like 60s op art, Bridget Riley, and mixing that with rave, which I love. And there was also some, you know, amazing orchid cutouts, amazing orchid prints on sweaters, but it was really that cool op art where you get lines doing weird distortion and, you know, and dots and weird distortion of stripes, basically. Take a look at that, and the color combos he did were fantastic in purples and fuchsias and yellows and deep tealy blues and really, really cool different color patterns. Also some holographic sequins in the end with patterns in. Very, very nice if you do a heavy pattern, heavy print moment inside of your brand or inside of what you do inside the fashion business. So take a look at those shows, look below, and we will see you guys in the next episode of Lyndley Trends. I'll check you later. Bye-bye.